Hello, everybody, and welcome back to That Real Texas Team podcast, episode 44 here on the channel. I'm the host with my co host, as always, Mike, aka go check him out at Mass 3 Productions on YouTube. Like and subscribe to his channel, trying to help him pump his numbers up. Do the same thing for our main man, Chris, who could not be here this evening. Um, Head on over to That's Crazy Podcast and Talk. Like and subscribe, notification bells. Do the same thing here. We're at 227. I'd like to see that number keep climbing. I'd like to be able to eventually pay these guys so that maybe the wives are a little bit more friendly about having, sitting down and
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
it. But with that being said, big win today that we're going to go over against the Colts. A little bit of a nail biter, but
Yep.
the defense the defense played all very, very solid game. And then CJ Stroud, a pretty good bounce back. But you were there, Mike. What was your impression of the fans today?
The
What was the
crowd and the vibe, it's awesome because today was the Andre Johnson Hall of Fame commemorative game. Andre's there in the building. They had different people telling him congratulations from, of course, Craig Biggio, Bagwell, the Astros fans, Bun B, Trader Truth. Of course, it's Miami boys. They got Ryan Clark there. They got Edgerrin James. Edgerrin James against the Colts. He's up there talking about congratulations, Andre Johnson. I was like, yeah, that's what's up. That's real. Of course, when they put JJ's face up there, the building just ratchets up a whole nother level. He had his family, and it was a beautiful day, man. I love the color gold. Hopefully, we'll have a couple more Texans over the next few years get a couple more gold jackets.
Yeah, I'm hoping. We've got a couple that could really deserve it. JJ, potentially Arian Foster.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got some other ones that I think could be developing that way. I mean, I don't think Diggs would necessarily be a Texan when he goes in, but he played for us. So I mean,
he'll be thankful.
It's like we'll scrub that one in. Speaking of Diggs, he got hurt today. It was a knee injury, non-contact injury. Those are usually really bad.
I saw it live action. It didn't look good.
Yeah.
As somebody that's hurt my knee, when you reach down there and grab it after cutting, nobody touched him, nothing happened. Like I said, non-contact injury, he grabbed his knee. And when walking off the field, he was somewhat walking off the field himself. Not very much help. He headed straight for the locker room. We did not see him come back.
Yeah.
It was scary. It's really scary. But a couple of young Texans showed up in his steed.
Yeah. We'll get into that here in a second. But, with Nico out and Diggs playing for most of the game, but then going out for probably the last quarter and a half, what was your impression of how the game plan was while everybody was on the field?
There was a conscious effort to try to get the ball to Tank. And I'm not sure if y'all watched the game, y'all saw it looks like Bobby said, you know what, we're going to try to get these tight ends involved in the game too.
Yeah.
Because there was some definite engagement. We saw the Dalton Schultz that we paid all that money to. I saw it for just split moment there. But I also saw why there's a chance Cade Stover might end up being the starter by next year. I saw.
Yeah. I mean, I think this was technically Schultz's best game this season. 4 catches, 52 yards. He was targeted 6 times. I think on a definite down year, this has been a great year for Cade Stover to come in, already have familiarity with CJ. And dude, every time he gets the ball, if somebody's in his way, he does the most badass shit in the world. And he literally just lowers that shoulder and he'll, even if he goes down, he just he gets up. And I'm just like, all right, I'm a Cade Stover fan right now.
That's how you do that.
Yeah. Run over somebody. He might be, just piping whatever Joe Mixon's drinking. And he's just, He's drinking the Kool-Aid. But also Jared Patterson, who was thrown out on the field to replace a very piss poor performance. Kenyon Green gets hurt, and then Kenyon Green has to come back in. I think the team is finally getting to a point where the Kenyon Green experiment is universally a failure within the organization.
Yeah,
I
we
think
done.
today was like, all right, D'Amico finally pulled the plug. What do you? And I know I kind of stole a little bit of your thunder on that one. So,
Oh no,
what do
no,
you
no.
have to say about that?
That guy, Kenyon, being that you're a Texas kid, we love you. You're from around here, but man, you're playing like shit.
Yeah,
I'm not. I've said it a couple of different times on this pod. It's time for Titus Howard to play left guard again. If this is what the hell we're gonna do, I complained about Titus Howard playing left guard because he wasn't that good, but he wasn't as bad as Kenyon Green. Kenyon Green is honestly one of the worst offensive linemen I've ever seen, and I've seen Xavier Suofila, and he's worse than him.
no,
They happen to play the same position.
forgot about that guy.
Yeah,
Xavier
the world forgot about him.
Woof.
Thank you, is he still a Cowboy?
I don't think so. He'd be like in his mid-30s at this point. I think he's retired.
That would be good. But Kenyon Green, it might be time to retire too.
Yeah, probably. Kendrick Green, I imagine, and I imagine throughout the next couple days because they're really not going to have an off day.
Everybody's going to get a shot at left guard.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe during this Jets game they throw out a couple people to figure out who can sink or swim over there.
Yep.
But they may end up at Titus at left guard and Blake.
Right guard. Yeah.
Oh no. What's his nuts? I wanted to call him. Is it Blake Griffin? Fisher. Yeah. I was like, Griffin doesn't feel right. That feels like basketball.
Yeah, that's definitely wrong. Definitely wrong.
Yeah. Blake Fisher at right tackle. Yes. That would be ideal at this point, but I think it's going to be hard pressed. I think Titus would be pissed off to be over at left guard, which might actually can play better, honestly.
Yeah, but the only reason why I think that they might not do that is if you put in Blake Fisher, who's your backup tackle? Who's your swing tackle?
Yeah. Well, then you're just kind of reshuffling again and dealing with it. I don't know, but somebody's got to make that left guard spot their home, and Kenyon Green has had every opportunity to do it, and that's why he is the first faller on our risers and fallers list. We're going to stay on the fallers because it's a shorter list, and we're just going to get all the negatives out of the way. It was a win, so let's temper all of the negatives, but get them out of the way now. Now, this was Mike's edition. I have a little bit of a pushback on it, so let's talk about your faller, sir.
Mr. Bobby Slowick. Damn it, Bobby.
Gosh,
yeah. My biggest issue I have with is one, Chris would be here to say it. We saw that fucking jet screen again. We saw it. Get it out of your playbook. It doesn't work. It does not work. That only works if your offensive line can block. That would be my only issue with Bobby is, man, we gotta get a little bit more creative with this play call. I get that Joe Mixon is a load. Joe Mixon is a lifesaver. Joe Mixon right now is the heart of this team.
Yep.
But 100%. Even he looked at his offensive line like, so, Bobby, you got to come up with some play calling to save this offensive line.
Yeah.
And
well, go ahead.
We got to test these guys deep. I get that the offensive line's not giving you much time, but that's because they know you're not going deep. I have not seen a deep pass, an actual deep pass, since Nico was playing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Nico actually was your deep threat.
that's the way he was used in Michigan. And last year, when they finally started unlocking the key to Nico, they started using him as a vertical down the middle, like skinny post deep threat, and then he exploded. And he was able to do those things and like open up his underneath game because of the success of that, I think. Um, but Slowick, he falls into the same category as most zone offensive coordinators. I have heard the exact same phrase used under Gary Kubiak while he was a Texans coach and while Slowick is the OC. Well, they're just running the same play in the last 4 plays, and they're getting monster gains because nobody can just stop it. And today's play was a split inside zone. It's just a simple zone up the middle. Running back has to find a hole. Sometimes I believe one of them had a motion where somebody, kind of cracked on somebody up the middle, but it's a system where the offensive line looks like they're doing the exact same thing every single time, and it's supposed to confuse the defense because you're just like, okay, what is actually happening here? And you have to try to find the running back amid all the chaos, which works pretty often and is pretty efficient and is, as of the last like 30 years, probably the most efficient way to run the ball in NFL history. With that being said, the way he is incorporating the passing game through the running game is fine. I think a lot of the times he just doesn't dial up the appropriate blocking to make some of these plays more possible. That might be just personnel that are in there because they threw Cade Stover and Dalton Schultz in on a play against the Vikings a few weeks ago, and that was Jonathan Grenard's first sack. He just blew right through Cade Stover and obliterated C.J. Stroud. Um, so he
Today's fumble,
tries, but I
today's
think
fumble was the same thing.
yes, yeah,
The fumble at the end of the game to Joe Mixon is Cade Stover got blasted into Joe Mixon.
yep, and that's part of the issue. He's trying, and the offense, due to personnel and experience, could be just they're only capable of a certain level of play, unwillingness to block, whatever it is. There's a lot of things at play here that, you know, if are corrected, if you get the right combination of people out there, hums like a well built car. We haven't seen much of that this year, but we also haven't seen the same pieces on the field very often.
No, we've been mixing and matching all game,
Also,
all season, all season. Well, I will say this: if he wants to keep running these plays with these same formations, and hopefully that they work one day, Andrew Beck is a free agent guy. Let's bring back in an actual fullback. Playing tight ends at fullback hasn't worked.
they elevated Hairston. Did he not play at all?
Not at fullback. He was on special teams. Saw him make a couple tackles.
Interesting. Okay.
But there's a reason why Harrison hasn't been the starting fullback in 2 years.
Yeah.
He also used to be a linebacker, so
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, look, let's shift on to the positives. All right. Enough time talking about the negatives in a sweep of a division rival, and it's only week 8. Um, let's start at the top here. This guy's been up and down all season. Some games are great. We're like, holy hell, he remembered how to play football. Sometimes he's a damn liability. That being Eric Murray. Today he was damn
I've
good.
I've I've wanted to. One of the only good things Bill O'Brien might have done,
Yeah.
because he's from the Bill O'Brien era, and he's been here ever since then. And a lot of times we've questioned why he was still on the team.
Yeah.
Eric Murray's he's a baller. He's a game day guy. He shows up when you need him, and he knows what he's doing. Like, even sometimes when he gets beat, he's in the correct position, but he's just not that great of an athlete.
Yeah.
And that's comparing him to other athletes. We're not comparing him to the guy sitting at home on his couch. But he does his job. He does his job. Because if I'd have told you at the beginning of this year, Eric Murray's going to play more snaps than Jimmy Ward, what would you have said our results were going to be? See it
A
back
lot
there?
worse.
She just hopped up on the pillow back there.
Yeah, I just saw that. I would have anticipated a lot worse. But I think part of that, the reason that we didn't experience a lot worse, is a part of this other riser that we've kind of talked a little bit about before. Jalen Petrie has found his way. He is either this is without a doubt the crispest he has looked since the first season he entered the league. He is popping dudes. I saw him making solo tackles on Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. I saw him. He had that miraculous kind of like Houdini interception when the Colts were backed up and they're inside their own 20. Sets us up for a huge touchdown in the grand scheme of things.
That play in the backfield with Jonathan Taylor, it looked like Jonathan Taylor tried to stiff arm him, and it pissed Jalen Petrie off because then he slammed him. I was like, yeah, that's what happens when you punch somebody and you ain't ready to get punched back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, man, but he played lights out. He's been playing great, and I think the emergence of Jalen Petrie playing at a much higher level is kind of covering up a lot of Band-Aid or a lot of the other issues because he's able to make a lot of plays. Devin White makes his Texans debut in on several good plays. Athletic as all hell. If it's going to be a couple weeks with no Al-Shaair and Henry T, and maybe Christian Harris doesn't even come back. I haven't heard that yet, but I'm just, here we are, pretty close to the end of October.
It's a Houston sports team. We can't put it past.
It's true.
It's happened to the Astros. It's happened to the Rockets. It's happened to the Texans.
Yep. So, you never know what's around the corner, but there's a reason Devin White is here, and he played pretty well when he was asked to go in. Hewitt, again, had moments of playing really damn good football. Jake Hansen came up on a huge third down play. I think it was like a really long 3rd and goal or some shit.
Yeah.
But, yeah, gets a sack on Anthony Richardson. After he had kind of made some of these other defensive linemen look small, Jake Hansen just solos him. And I'm like, what? What?
If there was anybody questioning the signing of Devin White, stop.
Silenced. Yeah, ye be silenced.
Casario, if I'm looking back at his entire track record now, his draft, the only thing we can really shit on Casario about is probably Kenyon Green now.
Yeah.
Because I'll say this. If our backup quarterback stays his backup for his entire career as a Texans backup, great draft pick.
Yeah.
The Will Anderson, CJ Stroud trade looks
Perfect.
great still.
Yep.
Petrie, Christian Harris, even Dylan Horton. showed up today. He was out there doing his job.
Yeah.
Kalen Bullock, Kamari Lassiter, Cade Stover, Blake Fisher. I'm like, at this point, shit.
We should just
I think
stop doubting the man. Just let him cook.
Casario's going to get a raise.
It's very possible. Speaking of some of these guys that, actually all of these guys Casario brought in, Tank Dell, John Mechie, and Hutch. All of them stepped up after Stephon Diggs went out of the game. All of them had big plays in crucial moments and set up scores and got us into huge field position flips. So, I mean, they're all three risers. There's a good chance that it's those three plus Robert Woods as your top five or top four wide receivers going into next week. They might just sit Stephon Diggs, even if he's healthy. I mean, why not just let him cool on this game?
Nurture a week. The thing is, like Curtis, when the game was going on, I was texting with you and Chris, and we both said, "Damn, we're gonna need Mechie to show the fuck up." Yeah. But didn't we just say we don't really have any faith in him? If you don't have any faith in him, he's not going to give you anything. You're not disappointed.
Yep.
The next damn play.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you.
That's look, I don't know if that was divine intervention or not, but somebody was trying to tell us in silence.
I couldn't even respond back fast enough saying, "That's what that."
Yeah. Get your fucking house bug, Chris.
Yeah. I love it, man, and it's good to see. Because you want to see Mechie successful. We want to see him succeed. We're not hating on him at all. But Xavier Hutchinson has been playing better than him since the preseason. Xavier Hutchinson is a photocopy of who Nico Collins is. Yeah. Same big body, actually has a lot more speed than what you think he does. And he's getting out to dive and catching the ball. The last few weeks, Hutch has turned up to do something.
Yep.
And we're not even going to talk about we're not even going to talk about the blocking.
Yeah. Oh man.
He's one of the better blocking wide receivers that I've seen in a long ass time.
Well, he did get blown up the one time. The only block that I saw him make, because it was obvious it was him, was there was like a Mechie screen pass.
Oh, that guy!
That big pass, and then Mechie or Hutchinson just got blown the hell up right into Mechie, and then whoever was on Hutch got the tackle.
Well, that's one of them where I say, "Hey, Bobby, that's your fault," because I saw the formation. I called screen pass to Mechie before they said Hutch. So if my stupid ass saw it, I'm pretty sure the guys that play football for a living saw it. And that's looked like what happened. They said these guys went ball hunting. Yeah. To a point I wish CJ wouldn't have thrown it to him.
Yeah. With you on that. Whoa. All right. And then our last riser is Joe Mixon. And I put Joe Mixon on this list because, we brought him in and the story was the offensive line can't run block. That's why Dameon Pierce is unsuccessful. Then Joe Mixon comes in, and in every game that he has finished, has eclipsed 100 yards rushing, at least. Today he had 102. And it seems as though the moment that the offensive line was like, oh shit, Joe Mixon can rush for 100 yards, other people can also start to run the ball now. We allow it. And we've had everybody else, with the exception of Stroud and Stephon Diggs, had, I think, just one carry apiece, but each of them was for 4 yards. Dameon Pierce, Adare Gumbawale. Stephon Diggs' loss was for -4. So, I mean, kind of a, opposite
correlation.
Yeah. But this offensive line is still getting people blown up into Joe Mixon's face.
Yep.
And he's making shit happen. That's what Motor was doing last year. That's what Damian Pierce was doing a couple years ago, and Damian kind of lost his mojo or whatever since then. But maybe watching Joe Mixon could bring it back in Damian. I hope
I'm
it
gonna
does.
say that I think that might be his issue. Joe Mixon is a north-south runner. Damian Pierce is a north-south runner.
Yeah.
Last year, he watched Devin Singletary, who is not a north-south runner. He's the east-west guy. And Damian tried to emulate the guy that was starting in front of him. The guy that, and when he was starting, the guy that they told him might be able to come take his position. He tried to run like this guy, and it doesn't work. That's not who Damian Pierce is. Damian Pierce showed on that kickoff. He has a little bit more speed than what you think he does. But he's not known as a guy that's going to make you miss. He's going to make you not hang on because he's going to bring it, but he's not going to make you miss.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it as far as risers and fallers go, folks. Let's go ahead and head on to some of our headlines that we wanted to talk about. With the injury of Diggs, with Nico Collins presumably eligible to come back after the Jets game. The wide receiver room is thin for a week. We don't know what's actually wrong with Diggs. Maybe it was just a weird hyperextension. We can hope, but it could be a lot worse.
Yes, it can.
And at the moment, we got Tank Dell, John Mechie, Hutch, Robert Woods, and Steven Sims. I don't think I'm missing anybody. Those are the other 5 wide receivers on the roster right now. We've also got Cade Stover, Tegan Quatoriano, which I saw a healthy amount of today, and Dalton Schultz. And then, of course, Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce, Daria Gumbawale. Those are all the people that I could imagine touching the ball at any point that's not named CJ. Are you worried with what the Jets defense brings that, with such a thin wide receiver room? Like, it seems like it's only going to be for one game, but
I am a little nervous about it because we are a run-first team. We're going against the Jets, who are the new Cleveland Browns is starting to even look like. They just can't get their shit together. But they defend the run very, very well.
Yes, they do.
They have some monsters in the middle. And I said in the middle just to be like, hey, Kenyon Green, don't worry about playing this week.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
You're not.
You struggled against guys that you shouldn't struggle against because you struggled against everybody.
Yes.
So we can't rely on Joe Mixon to save us. If he gives us another 100, great. But I will be honest with the Jets, as bad as they are, I don't think 100 yards from Joe Mixon is going to be enough.
No, but we're going to need Mixon and everybody else to pick up the slack because DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner have been pretty good as of late. Now, there's been a couple games here and there this season that have made Sauce Gardner finally kind of feel like he's crashing back down to reality a little bit, not necessarily living on, what Revis Island was. But do you consider this game against the Colts as a CJ bounce back after last week?
Yes, but like we talked about it before, I don't think last week was as bad of a game for CJ as everybody says it was. I feel like it was a worse game for the entire team.
Yeah. I mean,
like CJ still CJ.
Yeah.
He's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah. Kenyon Green and the offensive line. Early in the game, I believe both of the Colts sacks came in the first half.
Yeah.
And they took Kenyon Green out. And then Jarrett Patterson got hurt and Kenyon Green had to go back out there. Offensive line was, pretty good. CJ does a lot of moving around and feeling the pocket, and he'll roll out if the pocket's disintegrating all around him. There was a couple plays where he ended up rolling out to his right, and Titus Howard just washed his guy all the way to the other side of the field. It was beautiful. That's primo effort right there from old Titus. But yeah, the left guard spot, we got to do something. We got to do something.
It's got to change.
I would imagine that whatever we're picking next year, it's got to be like left guard, right guard, center options. Somebody
Yep.
who might be able to play all three or whatever. But we need some serious interior offensive line help. Let's move to the defense because the defense, in my opinion, was playing phenomenally. First, 3 times this season have the Houston Texans held a starting quarterback to 10 or fewer completions. 2 of those were AR. One of them was Josh Allen. Anthony Richardson was 10 for 32 for 175 yards, 45 yards on the ground, and 35 yards lost for being sacked 5 times. He also had an interception and a fumble at the end of the game. His quarterback rating was like a 48 out of like a possible 158 or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say it. The Colts need a new quarterback. Joe Flacco is significantly better. The only upside to playing Anthony Richardson at this point is you like the idea that he can tuck it down and run for it 6 times and get 45 yards.
Yeah.
Now, 22 of that, I think, came from one long run at the end of the game where he probably should have gone out of bounds about 6 yards sooner, but ended up running off an extra 15 yards or 15 seconds because he wanted another 7 yards.
I love it. I love the idiocracy.
So this is not an efficient game for the offense of the Colts at all. The defense was able to get in and around, and I mean they were so close to Anthony Richardson. They were making Thanksgiving plans. That's how close they were. Like 5 sacks. I don't have the pressure counts, but the fumble recovery, and it seemed like any time AR went to throw the ball, every other occasion was somebody hitting him as the ball was being thrown, or Anthony Richardson scrambling for his life and just humming it downfield, hoping something happens. At one point, he was 2 for 14 with 81 yards and a touchdown. Anthony Richardson is that quarterback that you used to play like pickup football with that was like way too good at pickup football.
Yep.
He was him.
Unscheduled.
Yes. He'd just take it down and run. You always wanted to be on his team because he just, everybody was awesome.
You say you go deep and he'd actually throw the ball in the general area of you.
Yeah. You just got to make supreme athleticism happen. It's like I am Andre Johnson.
Did Pittman even play today?
Yeah. Oh, he played. Laster had him on lockdown island. He was on him all day, it felt like. Up until the fourth quarter, Michael Pittman had only caught one pass for 13 yards. He was targeted 6 times. Laster almost had an interception right before the Jalen Petrie interception. So glad he came back. God, he's playing lights out football. If he's not going to get defensive rookie of the year, I don't know who the hell deserves it more, other
Well,
than
I
maybe
do.
Bullock.
Yeah, I was about to say Caleb Bullock.
But I mean, Bullock's had his bonehead moments. I'm pretty sure Bullock was out of position for that long touchdown.
It might have been him. It actually
I'm
might have been because I know that's his responsibility.
Yeah. We'll get back into that because I've been thinking about doing like a late Tuesday night tail of the tape thing where we actually just like watch the all 22. But,
Okay.
let me know in the comment section if that's something you guys would be interested in. Final defensive note that I have, game 1 against the Colts, we didn't let Jonathan Taylor get over 50 yards on the ground. This week he got over 100. Was on 21 carries. A lot of it was, nickel and dime running. He didn't get the big gashes like he normally did. He got a couple, 13, 14-yard gains, but it's not well, I guess he did have that one like 20 something yard gain from getting him all the way down inside the 10, and then that long third down and goal play happened.
Yeah, and that's why I will say one of the things that was Devin White earned his paycheck because he's the one that chased him down, and we know Jonathan Taylor's fast.
Yeah,
Devin White is fast.
Mm-hmm.
My wife was even like, "Was that a safety?" I was like, "No, that's a linebacker."
Yeah, dude's like 6'1", 240. Humming
And he
it.
can move.
He might be lighter than that. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it can't be
He
too
doesn't
much.
look it. He don't look it. I'll tell you that. He's not one of these linebackers that looks like he could play safety.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, other than that, that's all I've got. I think that this was, again, far from a complete game for the Texans. But if you at the beginning of the season were to be like, hey, Curtis, would you accept this as results? Through the first 8 weeks, you're 6-2, and your only two losses are to non-conference opponents. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
take
think
the
that.
shit out of that, bro. Like, let's get it. Um, and realistically, the Minnesota game was a really bad loss, but we were literally winning until the final seconds of the Green Bay game. I mean, we could be sitting here at 7-1 with just a little bit more competent offensive line play. Now, would
Texas
you?
over the last 2 years have lost quite a few games by field goals.
Yeah, yeah. We're not incredible at one-score games, but every outside of the Patriots game, the Patriots and the Vikings game, every other game is a one-score game this season.
So you're telling me there's a chance? They're always in the game.
Well, I mean, sometimes like it didn't ever feel like the Bears were in that game.
No.
Um, and that first game against the Colts, it didn't ever feel like the Colts were in that game. We always had a 9-point lead until they scored a touchdown late, and then we just got the ball back and ran it out. So, I mean, I was never in doubt about that one. I wasn't really ever in doubt about, well, Buffalo kind of made me nervous, but
Buffalo made us all nervous, but we pulled it out.
but you know, we're 3-0 in the division through 8 weeks. We've still got 3 division games. We're in a really, really good spot. And we have not seen this team play at 100%. And we have not seen this team play like a well-oiled machine yet at any percentage. We haven't even seen complimentary football for a whole game. Now, I know it's the NFL, and that's a lot to ask for sometimes, but
But one game?
just once.
One game.
Um, honestly, this Jets game might be a good opportunity for that. The Patriots did win today against them on a last-second touchdown run by Ramondre Stevenson. So, I mean, we really don't have like a gimme, I feel like, until maybe week 12 against the Titans.
Yeah.
Our division games might be the weakest part of our schedule, but well, I say that, but we're playing the Jets. But um, I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting back half of the schedule, and I think we're walking into it in a really good position.
We're in a good situation where this could be probably the Texans' best record ever.
It's very possible. We talked about it earlier in the pod. Miami, Kansas City, and Baltimore, week 15, 16, and 17. That's Sunday game on December 15th against Miami, a Saturday game December 21st against Kansas City, and then a Wednesday December 25th game against Baltimore. So 3 games in 10 days.
That's gonna be a rough one.
Yeah.
3 games, 10 days. Give me 2 out of those 3, and I'll be happy.
Yes.
I'll be very happy. 2 out of those 3.
Yeah, and I think realistically, Kansas City still hadn't been beat yet, right? They beat.
No, yeah, they beat Las Vegas today.
Yeah.
Barely. They haven't really been embarrassing anyone.
No, they haven't put the squeeze on anybody at all this year. Baltimore lost today to Cleveland, who was led by Jameis Winston, and then Miami lost to the Cardinals. So
that's a normal thing.
It's interesting, and Tua is back, so that Miami game looks like a little bit more of a threat now. But we're going to save the rest of that conversation for the preview, which will be out. We're either going to do it late Tuesday night, or we're going to drop it, probably Wednesday night. But you let us know in the comments which ones you want. Mike, I want to thank you for taking time out of your evening to come on and talk ball.
I'll apologize to my wife for me.
Yes, please tell her thank you, and I'm sorry. And then go ahead, head over to Mass 3 Productions, hit the like and subscribe over there, and the notification bell. And then while you're at it, clicking buttons, do the same thing here on this channel, That Real Texas Team Podcast. We're at 227 at the time of this recording. I'd like to see that number keep growing. Head on over to Chris, who could not be here this evening. Head on over to his YouTube channel, That's Crazy Podcast and Talk. You can find that on all the social medias. Like, subscribe, notification bell. Without a doubt, a nail-biter game that shouldn't have been a nail-biter game, but a good game to end the first half of the season on.
It was a good win. It felt good.
It did. It did. We could get the brooms out. We didn't even do it because we're humble. Remember that, Colts fans.
We're humble. Hey, Jeff, how's it feel? I couldn't leave it alone. I couldn't leave it alone.
Anyway, y'all be good people and go Texans.
Go Texans.